The fog had rolled in thick that morning, clinging to the crooked trees lining the narrow country road. The air smelled faintly of damp leaves and something metallic. Blood, maybe, though no one had yet found a reason for it. I was standing at the edge of the bus stop, clutching my coat, watching the mist twist and curl like smoke from an invisible fire. Then I heard it, a low rumble that didn't belong to the old engine of the town school bus. It came from behind the pines, soft at first, like a whisper, then sharper, closer. My stomach clenched. The bus was late. That wasn't unusual. But this time the waiting silence felt wrong. A figure appeared through the haze. The bus, though not quite. Its windows were dark, reflective, and the usual chatter of children was gone. In place of the familiar hum of morning life, there was only a hollow, vibrating silence. It rolled past me slowly, too slowly, almost as if the road itself had turned to tar. I took a step forward, a voice rising in my throat, but it wasn't mine. Somewhere in the fog, a soft, broken laugh, like glass scraping over stone, echoed back. The bus stopped, engine idling, or pretending to, but no driver, no kids. I wanted to look away, wanted to run, but curiosity rooted me to the spot. And then, from the very back of the empty vehicle, a whisper floated out. "Get in." The morning air was thick with mist, clinging to my jacket as though it had weight. The trees along the roadside swayed without wind, their skeletal branches scratching the sky like brittle fingers. Every few seconds, a bird would call out, sharp and lonely, then vanish into silence so absolute it pressed against my ears. I should have been on the bus already, but the world outside had a pulse all its own that morning, slow and uneven, and it made my skin crawl. I remember stepping closer to the edge of the road, squinting into the haze. The school bus, our old battered yellow bus, was nowhere in sight. My stomach twisted. Normally, I would have shrugged, muttered something impatient, and waited. But that day, the silence seemed to stretch further than it should. Every sound, my own breathing, the crunch of leaves beneath my shoes, was amplified, like the world itself was leaning in to watch me. Then I heard it, the soft hum of tires, distant but deliberate, moving closer through the mist. The bus appeared slowly, emerging from the fog like a ship lost in a black sea. Its headlights were dim, hazy, barely cutting through the gray morning. There was no sound of children laughing, no chatter, no driver behind the wheel, just the low, persistent hum of the engine. I froze. Something about it was wrong. My heart hammered. "Hello," I called, my voice trembling despite myself. The fog swallowed it whole. There was no reply, only the subtle, almost imperceptible creak of the bus doors. Slowly, they swung open on their own, as if inviting me. I shouldn't have stepped forward. Every instinct screamed to run. Yet curiosity, or something far darker, pushed me toward the bus. I reached the first step, and a chill ran up my spine. The air inside smelled faintly of wet ash and metal, heavy and sour. The seats were empty, but they looked worn, like someone had just left in a hurry. "Is anyone here?" I whispered. No answer. And then, faintly from the back, a voice that was both childlike and wrong. "Sit down." I stumbled backward, nearly falling into the gravel. My mind spun, trying to rationalize. It must be a prank, someone hiding, a neighbor trying to scare me. But the bus had been parked there alone all morning. I had seen no one. The forest around the road was empty, silent, as if it were holding its breath. Shaking, I ran to the edge of the fog, hoping to see a familiar face, the driver maybe, or someone else from the neighborhood. Nothing. Only the bus sat there, motionless, waiting. And then I noticed something that made my stomach drop. On the side, scratched into the faded yellow paint, were letters, deep, jagged, unmistakable. "Don't look back." I froze again. My mind raced. Who would? The bus had been under constant surveillance by the school district. It wasn't abandoned. Nobody had access to it. And yet, there it was, a quiet, waiting thing with a message meant for me, or anyone foolish enough to approach. The fog thickened. My ears picked up a soft shuffle, almost imperceptible, coming from inside the bus. Something or someone was moving back there. I pressed myself against the cold metal of the railing, trying to keep my breathing steady. "Get on," the voice whispered again, this time sharper, closer. I jerked my head, but there was no one visible. The bus was empty. And yet the words echoed inside my skull, bouncing off the mist outside. Some part of me knew that the stories I had heard as a child, the ones whispered in hushed tones by older kids about the missing buses, the vanishing children, weren't just tales. They were warnings. And now, standing there, alone on the mist-shrouded road, I realized I was the protagonist in one of those stories. My phone buzzed in my pocket, but when I tried to pull it out, it was dead, completely blank. Even the little red notification light was gone. The road behind me had blurred into fog. No footprints. Nothing. Just the bus. Waiting. Watching. I stepped back. I should go, I muttered, voice trembling. But the words felt absurd, fragile, against the heavy, oppressive fog. Even as I turned, the bus's engine hummed low, a sound that seeped into my bones. And then, a sudden creak from the back, louder this time. I swear I saw movement. Shadows stretching, bending, something watching. My legs froze. My mind screamed to flee, but my body refused. It was as if the bus had claimed the ground beneath my feet. I couldn't know then what was coming. I couldn't know that this moment, the silent, waiting bus, the fog, the broken message, was only the first turn into a path from which there was no escape. But deep inside, in the tight, panicked clutch of my chest, I felt it. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. And in that moment, as the fog swallowed the horizon and the bus seemed to grow larger, taller, impossibly more menacing, I realized the first rule of the road. Once the bus arrives, it never truly leaves. The fog didn't lift for hours. I stayed frozen at the roadside, eyes locked on the bus, breathing shallow. Every instinct screamed to run, yet something, some magnetic, impossible force, held me there. I could hear faint, irregular whispers through the mist, voices so soft they seemed almost inside my skull. At first, I thought they were from the trees, the wind, the hum of the engine, but soon I realized they were repeating words I didn't understand, a strange, rhythmic chant. By the time the first few neighbors emerged from their homes, blinking in the gray light, the bus had disappeared. One moment it had been there, silent and waiting. The next, it was gone. I ran toward the last place I had seen it, but the road was empty. No tires, no footprints, just a hollow, lingering mist. I tried to explain to Mrs. Holloway, the elderly woman who lived across the street, what I had seen. Her eyes, clouded with age, widened in a way that made my stomach turn. "You saw it too," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "You didn't touch it, did you?" I don't understand. I was there and then it was gone. There's nothing. Nothing is exactly the problem, she interrupted. It's never just gone. Her warning sent a chill deeper than the cold mist. I realized I had stumbled into something older than the town itself, something that people only whispered about when the children were asleep. That night, sleep refused me. Every time my eyes closed, I saw the bus through the fog, its windows black, the engine a low growl that vibrated in my bones. Shadows moved behind those darkened panes, sometimes small, sometimes larger, humanoid shapes bending impossibly, their features hidden. I would wake up drenched in sweat, heart hammering, and the silence of my room would feel heavier, oppressive, as if the fog had followed me home. I began researching. The local library had microfilm archives stretching back 50 years. I spent hours sifting through faded newspapers and town records. Patterns emerged. Stories of children disappearing, one by one, on foggy mornings, always from this very road. Sometimes it was the same bus, sometimes different vehicles, but the details were consistent. The bus appeared alone, no driver, no other adults, then vanished. No trace of the children afterward. And the strange part, the part that made my stomach knot, was the mention of an observer. In the oldest accounts, there was always someone standing by, witnessing the bus vanish. Some of them went mad. Others disappeared themselves. The first micro-event happened 3 nights later. I had barely drifted off when a soft scratching woke me. My bedroom window rattled gently. I froze. The sound didn't belong to the trees. Outside, the fog had crept into my yard. I peered through the blinds. For a brief moment, I thought I saw a faint, yellow shape moving through the mist, an impossible silhouette, unmistakable. The bus. I blinked. It was gone. Then came the whispers again. Soft, overlapping voices, impossible to locate. Come, come, come. I bolted upright. My phone, still dead, offered no comfort. I felt watched, hunted as if the silence around me had teeth. The next day, I confronted Mr. Reynolds, the janitor at the local elementary school, an older man who had driven buses for decades. He squinted at me, grim and tight-lipped. "People shouldn't talk about it," he said, lowering his voice to a harsh whisper. "It's better left alone. They watch. They always watch. You want to disappear. I just want to understand." I snapped. He leaned closer, eyes darting to the fog-draped horizon. "You can't. Not fully. Once it notices you, you're already part of it." The way he said it, the pause afterward, it wasn't just a warning, it was a confirmation. Something alive, patient, waiting to pull in anyone who dared come close. The backstory slowly began to unfold. I discovered town records about a bus accident decades ago. A driver had lost control during a dense fog, killing a dozen children. The bus itself vanished into the woods, never recovered. Locals whispered of curses and pacts, rumors that the spirits of those children lingered, trapped, pulling others into the same fate. But these weren't ghost stories. The disappearances were real. Names, dates, testimonies, police files, they lined up. Each missing child had been last seen on this same foggy road. And there was something else. Each sighting included reports of the bus moving alone, doors opening and closing, the faint sound of a child's voice calling someone in. One evening, I returned to the roadside, determined to see it again. The fog was thick, curling around the trees and asphalt like smoke. Hours passed, and just as I was about to give up, I heard it, a low rumble behind me. The bus. It appeared suddenly, headlights dim, black windows reflecting nothing. My heart raced, yet I felt compelled forward. This time I noticed subtle details I hadn't before. The paint was scratched, names etched into it, almost like tally marks. Each scratch pulsed faintly in the foggy light. A faint voice drifted from the back. "You belong." My legs refused to move. I wanted to turn, but the fog pressed against me, sticky and suffocating. Inside the bus, I glimpsed movement, shapes sliding along the seats, pale hands pressed against glass. A child's face flickered in the shadows, eyes wide, mouth open as if screaming, yet no sound emerged. Neighbors began whispering, warning me to stay away. Old Mrs. Holloway came by, shaking her head. "They've been watching you. The road, the fog. It knows. Don't go back. You won't come back." Her words were a small anchor in the chaos of reality unraveling around me, but they only made me want to uncover the truth more. I couldn't stop. The paranoia grew. I began noticing subtle changes at home, objects slightly out of place, doors closed that I remembered leaving open, shadows that moved independently of light. Sometimes, late at night, I would hear the faint rumble of the bus, far off, then closer, then gone. Yet every time I ran to the window, nothing. I started questioning my sanity. Maybe I was imagining it. Maybe it was the stress, the stories, the fog. But the first time I saw it reflected in my bedroom mirror, a pale yellow blur behind me, I knew it wasn't imagination. The bus followed, not in reality, but in perception, bending time, warping space, impossible yet undeniable. By the time I reached out to a former school bus driver from decades past, I understood the full horror. His voice trembled over the phone. "They don't just disappear," he said. "They take the road, the fog. They collect attention, fear. If you've seen it, it's already marking you. Don't go looking again. You'll vanish too. Just don't go." I hung up, my hands shaking, mind racing. But I knew it was too late. I had already seen too much, already stepped onto that road that claimed children. I could feel it pressing in on my thoughts, whispering in every quiet moment. The bus was patient. It didn't chase. It waited. And the more I sought answers, the closer it drew. Shadows shifted, whispers crept, and reality itself began to blur. The forest grew taller, the fog thicker, and the road seemed endless. Every step toward understanding was a step into inevitability. I couldn't escape it. And the next encounter, the one that would finally confront me with the truth of the bus, was coming. The fog had returned in full force, heavier than I had ever seen it. It pressed against my chest, thick and wet, curling around my limbs as though the world itself were holding me down. Every streetlight I passed seemed to flicker, casting shadows that stretched like grasping hands. And somewhere, deep in the mist, I heard it, the low, guttural hum of the bus. I had tried to convince myself that it was just memory, imagination, paranoia. But this was different. This sound carried weight, depth, intention. The bus wasn't just a vehicle. It was a predator, patient, inexorable. I stopped at the edge of the old road, the place where I had first seen it, where my life had pivoted into a nightmare I couldn't escape. The fog swirled unnaturally, forming shapes that seemed almost human. Children in faded uniforms, faces pale and wet with condensation, mouths open in silent screams. They hovered just beyond reach, watching, waiting. And then I saw it. The bus emerged, more massive than memory. Its yellow paint dulled and scratched deep with lines that pulsed faintly in the gray light. The headlights were dim, blacked out, reflecting nothing but fog and shadow. The doors creaked open slowly, rhythmically, as though inviting me into the maw of some vast, patient beast. I took a step forward, my legs trembling. The whispers began again, overlapping, incoherent yet terrifyingly clear in their intent. Come, come, don't fight, belong. I swallowed hard, voice barely above a whisper. I need answers. From the shadows inside the bus, a small figure appeared. Pale, thin, impossibly still. A child, or something wearing a child's face, stepped forward. Its eyes were hollow, black as the void, reflecting none of the morning light. You shouldn't have seen, it whispered, voice scraping at my bones. Now you're part of it. I stumbled back. The road behind me had vanished, swallowed by fog. There was no escape. Every instinct screamed to run, to fight, to scream, but my legs refused to obey. The bus's presence pressed on my chest, thick, tangible, suffocating. Suddenly, I was inside the bus, though I hadn't moved. The seats stretched infinitely, dark shapes moving just beyond vision. The engine hummed low, vibrating through my skull. Every reflection, windows, mirrors, showed only fog, shadows, children staring silently, waiting for me to break. Why? I choked, voice cracking. Why what? The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Why the road? Why the children? Why you? 1,000 whispered answers collided in my mind. Curiosity, fear, attention, observation, marked, taken. The bus shifted, impossible, folding space. The trees outside twisted, time warped. Familiar landmarks, the telephone poles, the road signs, the crooked fence at the corner, stretched and bent as though the world itself had become a reflection in a dark, rippling pond. A child appeared on a seat, turning slowly to face me. Its mouth opened impossibly wide. No sound emerged, but the pressure of its gaze pierced my skull. They watch, a new voice said, this one sharp and panicked. You can't fight them. I realized then that the whispers weren't only from the bus. They were in my mind. The memories of the vanished children, the warnings, the old accounts from Mrs. Holloway and Mr. Reynolds, all blended into a chorus of terror. I could feel the road calling, dragging me toward inevitability. The bus doors slammed shut behind me, though I hadn't moved. Panic seized me, a roaring in my chest. I ran down the narrow aisle, past endless rows of empty seats. Every time I thought I saw an exit, it receded, folding into the fog, unreachable. From somewhere deep in the vehicle, a distorted laugh erupted. High-pitched, childlike, then warped, echoing off invisible walls. Shadows leapt along the seats, coalescing into forms I could almost recognize. Teachers, drivers, parents, all staring, waiting, silent but intent. I reached a door at the back and yanked it open. Outside, I expected the familiar world, the edge of the forest, the misty road. But there was nothing. Just endless gray, curling into infinity, broken occasionally by shapes twisting in ways that defied physics. "Come, join, forever," the whispers urged, louder now, almost screaming. I slammed the door, turned, and realized the aisle had elongated impossibly behind me. The childlike figure had multiplied. Dozens of them now, pale, hollow-eyed, staring silently, pressing forward with impossible patience. Their whispers grew, overlapping into a low roar. "Belong! Belong! Belong!" I backed up, tripping over seats that seemed to rise from the floor to block me. My breathing was ragged, each inhale stabbing my lungs. I tried to scream, but my voice was gone. The bus wasn't just a vehicle. It was a trap, a living entity collecting fear, bending reality, folding time. Then a door opened above me, a hatch I hadn't seen before. I scrambled upward, dragging myself into the cramped space. Shadows writhed beneath me, reaching, whispering, pressing against my back. I crawled to the edge, peering out. The road stretched endlessly below, fog swallowing it completely. And there, at the horizon, the first bus I had ever seen, the one from my childhood, materialized. Doors open, empty seats, the engine humming, patient, inevitable. A voice, sharp, direct, close to my ear, whispered, "It was always you. Always this road. Always the bus. You can't escape." I understood then what had been building from the very first sighting. This wasn't random. The bus didn't chase. It waited. It claimed attention, curiosity, obsession. Once marked, there was no going back. It folded you into its path, rewrote the rules of space and time around you. And then I felt it, the first tangible grasp of cold, pale hands pressing against my shoulders. Not many, not dozens, but hundreds, impossibly thin, clawing. I screamed finally, the sound swallowed immediately by the hum of the engine. Somewhere in the fog, a distorted chorus of children's voices sang together, their notes twisting impossibly. "Forever with us. You belong." The hatch above me closed with a deafening slam. Darkness. Silence. My heart pounding so loud I thought it might break my ribs. My hands scrabbled in the empty space. The bus's hum had stopped. For a moment, I thought I might have escaped. Then the floor shifted beneath me. The walls pulsed, the ceiling bent impossibly low, and the whispers returned, now in my own voice. "Get in! Get in! Get in!" I realized the truth, the inevitability. I was no longer an observer. I had stepped too close. The bus had claimed me, bending reality, erasing exits, folding time. My own eyes reflected in the black windows. Pale, hollow, staring. And outside the bus, the fog rolled on, unbroken, patient, silent. The road lay empty, waiting for the next. The world returned slowly, like a tide pulling back after a storm. But it was not the same world I had known. The fog lifted, the sun struggled weakly through gray clouds, and the roadside looked ordinary once more. Yet everything felt hollow. The air carried weight, a silent pressure pressing on my chest. It was as though reality itself had thinned, leaving gaps where the bus might still be hiding, waiting. Neighbors watched from their porches, their eyes wary, lips pressed tight. None spoke of the bus anymore, though I caught the occasional glance, furtive, warning, full of understanding that they couldn't voice. Mrs. Holloway avoided me entirely. Her house shuttered, lights dim. Even the children of the neighborhood seemed quieter, cautious, as if they knew a story older than the town itself had been playing out again, and we were its witnesses. I walked home slowly, the crunch of gravel beneath my shoes deafening in the unnatural quiet. Every shadow seemed to stretch, bend, linger just a second too long. The road behind me was clear, ordinary, yet I couldn't shake the sense that somewhere, hidden in the folds of reality, the bus waited. My phone flickered on that afternoon, batteries suddenly alive, notifications stacking up, missed calls, messages, none of them comforting. Many were from parents, friends, neighbors, all asking where I had been, all unaware that the answers were already gone, folded into the fog, beyond recovery. Sleep returned, but it was fragmented, shallow, haunted by memories I could no longer dismiss. The faces of the children, pale and silent, appeared in corners of rooms, reflected in windows, flickering in the periphery of my vision. Sometimes, when the wind whispered through trees, I could swear it carried the soft hum of an engine. Not a machine, but a pulse, patient, steady, alive. I spoke to no one about what had happened. Words were useless, inadequate to convey the inevitability I had experienced. The bus wasn't just a story. It wasn't just a vehicle. It was a presence, a collector, a law of reality that bent the rules around those who noticed it. Mr. Reynolds passed me on the street once, eyes dark, voice low. "You saw it, didn't you?" I nodded, throat tight. He gave a grim smile, one that carried neither reassurance nor relief. "It doesn't end," he said. "Not for any of us. You just survive it differently." In the weeks that followed, I noticed subtle changes in my perception. The world seemed thinner, quieter, but never safe. Shadows stretched differently. Corners held weight. Fog, even on clear days, carried a whisper of promise and threat. Occasionally, I would catch a glimpse of yellow in the distance, fleeting, dissolving before my eyes. The bus or memory of it bleeding into reality. Objects moved on their own. Doors left open when I knew I had closed them. A chair shifted slightly, a book fallen from a shelf. At first, I questioned my sanity. Perhaps it was residual trauma. But then I heard the whispers, low and teasing, impossibly close. "You belong. Come back, watch, wait." And I realized that the bus had not only claimed those children decades ago, it had claimed me too. I had survived, yes, but only in fragments, only in ways that reality allowed. A part of me remained on that road, folded into the fog, imprinted onto the spaces it traversed. I tried to return to normal life. Work, school, routine. But the bus's absence was deceptive. Any time I walked near the old road, any time the fog thickened even slightly, I felt it watching. My mind would snap images in front of my eyes. Rows of empty seats, darkened windows, hands pressed to glass. Sometimes, the whispering voice would call my name, just below hearing, drawing me closer, reminding me of inevitability. I began documenting everything. Notes on timing, on whispers, on shapes in the fog. Sketches of children's faces, the bus's outline, distorted and warped by memory. But the more I tried to capture it, the less tangible it became. Photographs came out blank, devices failed, recordings played only static or low, guttural humming. The town's history became a research obsession. Every disappearance, every report, every microstory of the vanished schoolchildren fit a pattern. It was a network, a record of inevitability. The bus waited, collected, erased. I could see it in the accounts spanning decades. Each child taken was a warning and a proof of persistence. And now, I understood fully, each one had left behind traces. Faint, ungraspable, haunting, that drew others into the same orbit. The last time I visited the road, I approached with dread tempered by knowledge. The mist hung thickly, unusually dense, obscuring everything beyond 10 feet. I expected the bus, but it did not appear immediately. The road was still, the air stagnant, almost suffocating. Then, in a flicker, it emerged. Not the bus I had first seen, not the sleek, reflective shadow, but a shape more terrifying in its subtlety. The yellow paint was dulled, scratched deep with names. Shadows filled the windows, restless, bending. The engine emitted no sound, but I could feel it pulsing, vibrating through the earth, through my body. I froze, unable to look away. And then the voice came, calm, deliberate, almost intimate. "You survived. But you are ours." I stepped back. The fog twisted around my feet, tugging. The bus doors opened slowly, with the same invitation, the same inevitability. I realized that survival wasn't freedom. It was a state of partial consumption, a shadow of the whole. I returned home, carrying that knowledge like a weight that would never leave. Every reflection, every flicker of movement in the corner of my eye reminded me. The bus existed beyond perception, beyond the tangible. It was patient, inexorable, eternal. It claimed attention first, then curiosity, then inevitability. And once marked, there was no escape. Years later, I sometimes hear about new disappearances. Children taken from streets, roads, bus stops on foggy mornings. Reports are scarce. Police files exist, but contain only silence and static. Names appear, vanish, and nothing connects them on paper. Yet I recognize the pattern. The same inevitability. The same presence, patient and hungry, waiting for someone to notice. I keep my distance from the old road. But I know, as long as I breathe, a part of me remains folded into that fog, tethered to the bus, unable to escape completely. Sometimes, in quiet moments when I am alone, I can hear the low hum of the engine. Just barely. Far away. But always there. Waiting. And I understand now that the bus is not a story. Not a legend. It is law. A force of inevitability. It collects. It folds space and time. It bends perception. And one day, inevitably, it will return. I cannot warn anyone. Words fail. Technology fails. Evidence fails. Because the bus exists beyond evidence, beyond perception. It waits in the fog, patient, eternal, collecting attention and curiosity. The children taken decades ago, the whispers I heard, the shapes in the mist, they were not random. They were proof of a system I cannot escape, cannot reason with. I live with it, a shadow tethered to something incomprehensible. And if I linger too long near fog, near roads where children wait, near curiosity itself, I feel it brushing against me, reminding me of the truth. Survival is partial. Belonging is inevitable. And one day, the road will take me completely.